Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. We have a full forum tonight, and we are excited to get started. First, my name is Dolores Sahaba. I am the lead organizer of East Bay Housing Organizations, and we are opening tonight with a land acknowledgement. As we gather on Indigenous Peoples Day to discuss housing justice, we must acknowledge Indigenous people as the stewards of the land on which we live and build. The East Bay is the unceded territory of the Listian Ohlone people. As we work against the displacement of the people in our community, we recognize and name the histories of displacement of the communities that existed here before us. We also uplift the work of our Ohlone neighbors to create spaces of belonging. EBHO is in the process of paying Shuni, a voluntary land tax that supports the work of Savorite Land Trust, and which returns Ohlone land to the Ohlone people. And we invite you to join us. Thank you for joining us this evening for our Houselessness, Housing, and the Hunger Forum. EBHO, St. Mary's, and the League of Women Voters have co-sponsored this topical forum 2 other times, and we are excited to include Centro Legal de la Raza as the co-sponsor for tonight as well. Tonight's forum is for educational purposes and does not imply endorsement of any candidate. I will be silencing microphones promptly after the time has stopped. I'd first like to introduce tonight's timekeeper, Louise Anderson from the League of Women Voters. You can see her green screen. She will be having the timer up there for display, and I encourage the candidates to pin that screen so you can make sure that you stay within your allotted time. Next, I'd like to introduce our moderator for this evening, Monique Berlanga, who is the Executive Director of Centro Legal de la Raza, a legal services organization here in Oakland, joining together with clients and partners to provide legal and safety net supports to immigrants, workers, tenants, and other marginalized clients and communities, ensuring access to justice for thousands of individuals throughout Northern and Central California. Monique has defended low-income tenants in the East Bay from eviction for nearly 15 years, most recently as a directing attorney for the tenants' rights practice at Centro Legal. Prior to her work at Centro, Monique was a housing staff attorney with Bay Area Legal Aid and spent 5 years as the managing attorney of the Eviction Defense Center in Oakland, where she defended over 25,000 eviction cases. Monique is from Hayward, California. Take it away, Monique.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? And that's 2,500, not 25,000. That would be remarkable. But thank you, Dolores, for the introduction.
Sorry.
No, that could have been a comma error on my part. So just wanted to welcome everybody and quickly remind the candidates that they've agreed to abide by the League of Women Voters rules and to remind you of a few key ground rules. First off, each candidate will be invited to begin by making a 1-minute introduction. For each subsequent question, the candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond. Prior to tonight's forum, a random draw was completed to determine the order, which the candidates were made aware of in advance. The order will alternate for each question, and each question will also be posted in the chat box, so I will not repeat the question twice. To keep the discussion flowing, candidates will be expected to keep all answers to 1.5 minutes. And I want to thank Louise from the League for keeping us on time and ask that the candidates please wait to begin your answers until the timer has started. The timer clock will be visible to all. As moderator, I may well have to cut you off so we can stay on schedule. It is not personal, and I will not hesitate to do so. Lastly, we ask the candidates please speak at a steady pace for our captioner and translators to relay clearly what you are saying. So without further ado, first up tonight, we are joined by both candidates for Alameda County Supervisor, District 3, which includes the cities of Alameda and San Leandro, a portion of the city of Oakland, including Chinatown, San Antonio, Fruitvale, and Melrose areas, the unincorporated communities of San Lorenzo and Hayward Acres, and a portion of the unincorporated community of Ashland, Councilmember Rebecca Kaplan and Lena Tan. So I will now invite each candidate to make a 1-minute introduction, telling us what makes you the most qualified to be our next D3 board supervisor. And also in that introduction, if you can please state how you would like to be addressed during this forum, that'd be appreciated. Thank you. First up, Lena Tan.
Good evening, and you can call me Lena. Thank you for hosting this forum as we move into the November 8th runoff election. Since the June primary, I've received the endorsement of the East Bay Times newspaper and all 3 mayors within District 3, Alameda, San Leandro, and Oakland. This is important because they know what it takes to get the job done. Collaboration between the cities and the county, compromise and consensus building. My proven track record on collaboration stands the test of time in building affordable housing for our low-income seniors, the disabled, and our workforce, both on the Alameda County Planning Commission and as Vice Mayor of Alameda. As the past president of the Alameda Healthcare District, I continue to advocate for respite facilities for our growing senior unhoused community by building a wellness center to care for those being discharged from the hospital or need compassionate hospice care in their late stages of life. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Next up, Councilmember Kaplan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I'm honored to serve as the Oakland Council Member at Large and to work together with grassroots community to successfully fight for things like a public lands policy, for using public land for public good and building affordable housing with it, for bringing in revenue, including insisting that affordable housing be a substantial part of any ballot measure that was under consideration. I have worked over the years previously as an elected board member for AC Transit, representing the entire East Bay region, on the board of the Alameda County Transportation Commission, and as an attorney handling housing and tenant cases. I worked in the Oakland City Attorney's Office fighting against predatory foreclosures that have been undermining our community and have helped pass funding for rental assistance, legal supports, and other affordable housing needs. I would be so honored to be your supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you. And next question, we will start with you, Councilmember Kaplan. Can you tell us how you would prefer to be addressed tonight?
As Rebecca, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. So our next question comes to us from our partners at the Alameda County Food Bank. And again, as a reminder, you will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. How does the county social safety net need to be structured as well as administered in order to ensure an equitable recovery from the ongoing pandemic? And second, what is your strategy if elected as the 3rd District Supervisor in leading that effort?
Well, thank you so much. Our county needs to take seriously the magnitude of people's suffering, including in ensuring access to safe and healthy food, job training and job placements, strengthening community mental health, and supportive housing services. That means working both with the unincorporated area and the incorporated areas of the county that are within cities. Healthy food should be a public health goal for people throughout the county, no matter where they live. I've been so honored to work to expand healthy food in our county, including working with a broad coalition, including the Honorable Supervisor Wilma Chan, to write and pass a tax on sugar-sweetened beverages and use that money to strengthen health programs and access to healthy food in underserved neighborhoods. I have worked to expand the All In Eats food program with Dig Deep Farms and food delivery by providing new funding so that food can be brought directly to those who are in need of it. Our social safety net needs to be strengthened and better coordinated, including greater access to mental health supports in culturally competent community-based clinics, providing paid job training for community residents so that we actually have the staff, whether it's nurses, mental health workers, and the people who repair our infrastructure. We need to provide paid job training for the local community so we can fill the jobs and meet our needs. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lena, same question to you.
So the pandemic has clearly exposed and exacerbated some of the severe and pervasive health and social inequities that we are seeing in our county that is crucial to how we decide and strategize on making sure that our safety net programs are responsive and helping to meet the needs and basically compensate for the issues that we've had with systemic racism and structural racism. I would implement a strategy that would allocate resources with an equity lens, recognizing that different communities require different support to achieve similar outcomes. Similar to the late Supervisor Wilma Chan's All In program, I've had the opportunity to work on several parts of this sub-program, including the All-In and Eats. The implementing team needs to report directly to the supervisors with accountability for equity outcome. And I also want to lead the effort to get representations from the communities who have been left behind to have more of a say in implementing the recommendations for equitable recovery, particularly those in the front lines, from our healthcare providers, our neighborhood clinics, our mental health professionals, our seniors, our youth. They have the lived experience that will help us prioritize the services that are needed by the people in our communities of color and underserved populations.
Thank you, Lena. And Lena, we'll stick with you for this next question to begin. A two-part question. Everyone Home recently released their point in time count that says that there are nearly 10,000 people unhoused countywide. First part of the question, what is working in the county right now to house and support people? Secondly, what needs to change for the system to be better coordinated and resourced?
So the counties has basically consolidated the efforts to coordinate the homeless response program with the homeless coordinated equity programs. And one of the things that we have implemented that I think is going to be critical and has been working is looking at the coordinated entry program. In fact, last year, the county took over the city of Oakland's coordinated entry because it is important to have a county-wide perspective in making sure that if we are trying to assess and prioritize the needs of people who need housing, that we can look beyond just the city of Oakland, that we provide resources at the county-wide level. Clearly, the city of Oakland just recently did their second audit of the homeless program, and there are clearly deficiencies in the way in which the services are tracked and how we can get services to the point where people are moving from transitional supportive housing into permanent housing. And there was $69 million that was spent over 3 years that needed to be accounted for. And that is something that the county can help take the lead in terms of its homeless information system and tracking and providing that support.
Thank you. And Rebecca, same question to you.
Thank you so much. Our county has faced a devastating rise in homelessness with an increase. I don't know if you can see it from here, but this is how badly it's gone up in recent years, homelessness in our county. And that means we need to be dramatically scaling up solutions that work, which requires being willing to admit what works and what doesn't work. And that's why I, together with my colleagues, Nikki Bass and others, fought so hard for Oakland to track the data and for an independent audit. It was resisted by the administration. We had to fight for it in the budget. Then we had to fight for it to get done because there was some who didn't want to track the data and release the audit, but we got the results, and we have to be willing to acknowledge that some of the programs like the tool sheds are not having good success rates. And so we need to expand the type of things that works. That's why I've been fighting to launch programs like dorms and hotels with staff on site and services on site, where people get into real rooms with electricity and support services in the same place and get help rebuilding their lives. We're also working to launch well-managed sliding scale RV programs throughout the county to deal with the growing number of people living in vehicles who need access to sanitation so that we don't have sewage running through our streets. We also recognize that we need the coordination to be better tracked. That is one of the major recommendations of the homeless audit, that the county needs to do a better job data sharing. And I'd be very honored to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Okay, next question. We'll start with you, Rebecca. What are your ideas for encouraging increased building of affordable housing and strategies to ensure stable funding to enable the creation of these new affordable homes?
Thank you so much. There has been a dramatic under-construction of affordable housing, and that is largely contributing to the homelessness crisis. And it's also contributing to pushing out our community and undermining the ability to retain teachers and nurses and community cohesion. And so that's part of why it is so important to use public land for public good. And I currently serve on the Coliseum Authority Board, and as someone who is asking you for your vote to oversee county resources, I want to share the example of how I'm handling the county resources that I already have some authority on, which is the Coliseum property. We have voted to advance a mixed-use project with a substantial amount of affordable housing and identified local and African-American and diverse development team to do so. We have also worked to pass a public lands policy to prioritize public land for public good. These are goals that can be attained and that need to be attained. We have also successfully fought for ballot measures to fund affordable housing and homeless services, including Measure Q, Measure W, and for the inclusion of a substantial amount of affordable housing money in the infrastructure measure. We need to commit ongoing funding, and finally, to commit the value of public land as a way to leverage state grants, like a project we are applying for now in Oakland to build new senior housing on city land. Thank you.
Okay, next question. We will start with you, Lena. Oh,
Was I
actually,
supposed to answer
apologies. Apologies. Your response, Lena, you are right.
Okay, so
And actually, let's give it a second. I'm seeing there's a timer issue, so I'm not seeing the timer up. Okay, great. Thank you.
the recent audit also showed that over the next 5 years, we need 24,000 to 26 new housing units, affordable housing units. So far, we built about 3,200. So clearly, we need more housing projects that are at least 100% affordable. And those projects currently are subject to discretionary review right now. As a county planning commissioner, as a city council member, I know that anybody who comes in and complains can delay the project, or they can file an appeal. And this creates a very long and arduous and unpredictable process that slows and basically sometimes stymies the construction of badly needed homes. And I think this is something that I, as a county supervisor, can help dramatically basically deal with this issue of providing a policy where we have reforms in our permitting so that we can help streamline that process. In terms of cost, I would leverage the funding from Measure W to take advantage of the funding that we will be getting from the state's $10 to $12 billion to address homelessness, and to make sure that we have a stream of funding that can move toward building that deficit in housing.
Thank you. And now we will move on to the next question. Lena, we'll start with you. As you know, Alameda County currently has some of the strongest emergency tenant protections in the state, still saving lives today. However, many tenants in parts of Alameda County have little to no permanent tenant protections, such as just cause for eviction or rent control. What will you do post-moratorium to increase protections for tenants who don't have any protections or have very weak protections?
So you're correct that the county's eviction moratorium is tied to the emergency declaration associated with the pandemic. And as we move out of the pandemic and move into a point where we're healthier, we are going to need additional protections, which I would like to see administered through the county's community development agency. And we've only just started looking at implementing state law, which is AB 1482, to stabilize rent by basically it's causing a statewide rent control that will apply to the unincorporated areas of the county. And I want to see how that law is actually performing and being implemented, because it also imposes just cause eviction requirements that would apply to residents that have occupied a unit for a certain period of time. I want to work also to streamline the process for those that need rental assistance, and that should be a priority in funding to secure help for those that are unhoused, because we need to make sure that people are to avoid homelessness, you need to prevent it, and providing that bridge loan early on, whether it's a year's worth of stable rental assistance, is going to be critical to prevent somebody, especially families, from moving into a homeless situation.
Thank you. And Rebecca, same question.
Yes, thank you very much. We need to take action to make sure that we don't face a wave of evictions, which can cause incredible human suffering and frankly, be bad for everybody and waste people's time on courts and disputes. Some of the steps I would take would include to work to launch a landlord-tenant mediation service as we potentially have this wave of issues coming up facing hundreds of people, that we need a better path. We need a restorative path. And so we need to be able to mediate those disputes rather than have them all end up in so much human misery. We also need to make sure that the promised rental assistance money is given out and that people cannot be evicted once that is paid. And so what that means is people were told there was going to be money from the state that would pay the landlords when you had a tenant who couldn't afford to pay it. Much of that money has still not been given out. Tenants have been put through piles of paperwork and online work over and over again and not received their payments. And then the property owner isn't getting paid, leaving everybody in a tense and negative situation. I would insist that those funds be distributed immediately, that the county use the bridge loan to be able to cover every qualified applicant and not have to make applicants compete and be scored against each other, and get the money out faster. We also need to provide legal assistance, even as we work to ensure just cause for eviction. People need to have someone they can call for legal assistance as those cases come up.
Thank you. And now we will have 1 minute for closing statements, and we will start with you, Rebecca.
Well, thank you so much. It is a great pleasure to be with you tonight and to seek support to run for Alameda County Supervisor in order to ensure a stronger and healthier future, including one with housing that is affordable at all income levels, one in which we ensure access to healthy food, that we save and strengthen programs like Head Start and ensure access to childcare and early childhood education throughout our community, that we significantly expand the availability of housing that is affordable and housing for our workforce so that we can have sustainable communities, being willing to use innovative tools like enhanced infrastructure finance districts to build permanently affordable housing, and to realize that the county owns a lot of land and the county sells hundreds of houses every year as tax auction properties and has a lot of money. And we need to leverage those resources for the things that will truly benefit our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Lena, 1 minute, please.
Thank you again. Thank you again for hosting this forum. I want to work with you to be your voice on the Board of Supervisors. I bring the depth and breadth of experience and leaderships to the board, having served on the City Council in Alameda, the Healthcare District Board, and the Alameda County Planning Commission. I continue to advocate for policies that protect our community through the League of Women Voters, the Asian Pacific American Democratic Caucus, the Friends of the Park Foundation Board, and the Alameda Hospital Foundation. In these roles, I have advocated for projects like pedestrian safety, housing for our seniors, condemning hate crimes. I want to work with you to elevate the legacy of the late Wilma Chan to new heights to improve access to county safety net services. I'm honored to have the support of community leaders, including all 3 mayors within the district, housing advocates, State Controller Betty Yee, and over 160 leaders that are listed at my website at lenatam.com. I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank you, Lena and Rebecca, for participating tonight. Next up, we will have our Oakland mayoral candidates. And I would ask the audience to please give us a few moments as we promote all of the candidates as panelists, and have a great evening, Rebecca and Lena.
Thank you.